Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience with education, and then a little bit about math talent and kind of how that started.
So I'm Camille Villareal. I'm a business development head here at Math Talent. Math Talent is actually an educational center dedicated to helping children learn and excel in both math and science. We use Finland certified curriculum. It's designed to be developmentally appropriate and tailored to each child's level. So that would be from nursery to grade 9. That would be 3 years old to 15.
Well, yeah, people have been learning for thousands of years, right? So even though we can have different marketing slogans and different techniques, it's, the fundamentals of the acquisition of knowledge is timeless.
We make them understand what they learn. We use tangible materials. We use real life objects, hands on activities, games, experiments to make concepts fun, engaging, and for them to easily understand the concepts.
Can you give me an example?
We use tangible materials, learning materials, both for math and science. So this is just one of the materials that we use. This is how we balance. Number 5. Okay, so we have number 5. Number 3. Okay, so it's not balanced. So what we do, we can also add some more monkeys here.
So you can learn, greater than, less to, equal. Yeah, okay. If I can generalize, I'm Chinese Canadian, but I went to school until I was 10 years old in China. And I'm very good at math. Yeah, but the path that a lot of Chinese students or just Southeast Asia students, they go through math is quite inefficient. Like you said, it is a lot about memorization, drilling. We would just drill the multiplication table up to 14, up to 15, up to 16, 16 times 16. Don't ask me that today, I forgot. But we would drill this. And I remember when I moved to Canada, math was so easy. Answer a multiple choice question or just do the homework point of view. But I really did not internalize what I was doing, like apply any concepts to it until I got my first job as a newspaper delivery boy. And they told me I was getting paid how many cents per pound. And that was the first time I applied math in real life. I really like what you guys are doing. I'm thinking for my daughter now, we're playing little games on our iPad. It's a Mario game, and she needs to collect a certain amount of coins to buy something. I can see she just has a lot more interest when there is something tangible that she wants, which is to unlock, a character or something like that. Why do you guys stop at grade 9?
I think it would be because it gets a bit complicated when it reaches grade 9. And in terms of the visualization and everything, we have already built the foundation from nursery to grade 9. So after that, it will be easier for them to get to the complicated topics.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you're going to need a pretty complicated monkey toy to explain, solve for x squared or something like that. You mentioned science as well. What kind of science topics do you teach? Is it physics, chemistry, biology? I mean, can you just talk about that?
Here in the Philippines, most schools don't have yet science until the 3rd grade. I think it's partly because of the new curriculum that we follow here in the country, but not all schools yet. This is the case. Most parents come to us to lay down the basic foundation of science. I've listened to parents, they say, my kid loves science. It's just that I think math is needed more. What I actually say is, yes, math is needed in terms of a lot of things in school, but also science. I believe science is very important. Everywhere you go, everything you see around you is under science. We've had kids who are already in the 2nd grade, 3rd grade. They have not been introduced to a lot of science, basic science things like non-living, living things, parts of the body, senses. So these are the things that can build the foundation of a child, the development of the child. Because everywhere, everything they see around them is science, matter, liquid, solid, gas, everything around them. So it's something of importance for them to know, like basic foundation before they get to school. So of course, they are expected in 3rd grade, once they reach 3rd grade, they are expected to know a lot about science. Even if it's the first time to introduce in school, they need to be at par already with the knowledge that they need since they're already at that age. So a lot of our parents see the importance and the value that we offer in terms of giving them science. And if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the few institutions that cater to math and science. So it's more of science. Not all after school programs have science, and what we have is visual learning with experiments. They can use tangible materials, they can do the experiments themselves, they can mix the colors, they can make a volcano. How does the volcano work, how does it erupt? So in terms of senses, they know what's bitter taste, what's sour, what's sweet, what's salty. Something of value that a lot of us don't really see right away. Like science, we think it's all experiments, but science is everywhere, and it's something that everyone should know, like common knowledge, and that it's really of value if we have our kids know these little things.
That's so fascinating to talk about this through the perspective of a kid. I mean, solid, liquid, gas. I could not have guessed that. But, I take it for granted because we know what it is. So that's interesting. What would you tell parents who are hearing this Finland accredited? What does that mean?
Well, Finland is actually known for its education, if not the best in terms of education. It's a kind of progressive style, if I may say, a little bit Montessori progressive style of teaching. Since they certified our curriculum, it means we are developmentally appropriate, tailored to every age and level. Our curriculum is studied well, and we follow that. Or kids who are already in school, when they have their own curriculum in school, we can integrate it to ours. Like if they have added topics in school that they want to also discuss here, we can do that. We can integrate. And then we also give our own topics so that it has more value, more knowledge in certain topics that aren't really discussed in full in school. So that's what it means when we say Finland certified. It's known for its education. That is of value for us.
Can you now describe a little bit about the actual, class setting? How long is it? How many kids are in there? Just so people listening can have an idea of what that looks like.
Our actual class setting is we have a low class ratio to the teacher. So one teacher is to 4 kids maximum. Our class session would be 1 hour and 30 minutes. Now we have the young kids, very young kids, who request for an hour. So we can do that. But for older kids and for kids who can already do 1 hour and 30, we encourage that. And we encourage at least once a week. We already have kids who do twice a week, maybe one math class and one science, just to encourage them and see their progress weekly. That's why we encourage at least once a week for them.
Now, when are kids coming? Are they coming after their school, or are they coming on the weekend?
It depends. We have a few kids that come after school, those that live just near the area. But a lot of our kids come on a weekend, especially on a Saturday, especially now that they're in school. When we started for summer, our weekdays were full as well. It depends on the season.
Would you describe Math Talent as a program for kids who are struggling with math that need to, take summer school and keep up with the traditional schooling system? Or is it more of a get ahead kind of program?
I guess both. We have kids come to us and would want to visualize the concepts they learn. And at the same time, some kids as well, they come here to get ahead, to get a bit advanced. We have kids who compete, both science and math. The teachers give them more exercises or more worksheets, challenge them with problem solving, with critical thinking skills. I guess it's a value for both.
What do you have to say about the state of education in the Philippines? Do you think it's competitive? Do you think it's good enough?
I guess in terms of being competitive in the world, I still believe the Philippines can still have a standard for this. And I think globally, Filipinos have made it. In terms of education in the Philippines, we can compete and we can be at par globally.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think sometimes young learners are given too much autonomy, or when it comes to decisions, like what to study, where to study, what to do, what do you want. In that age, I think young learners have that structure and guidance of parents. And at the same time, some parents are actually too much involved in schools. They're too much involved with the teachers or what the kids do. It makes in educators feel a little bit restricted and less effective in that way, since they don't have their own authority in their own class. So I guess parents should give their full trust to the teachers so that they can be effective. Like they will be respected by the kids. They have their own authority inside the classroom. It becomes more effective. So it's better if there's a healthy balance between parents and teachers. I guess a little bit of reinforcing discipline in the household and reinforcing it in school the same way, instead of discipline starts at in school. So I guess it goes both ways, a right mix of independence and structure. This will help the kids and the students become more responsible and confident with the guidance of at a certain age with a certain parameters. Lastly, what I think would need improvement would be schools should be developing more the critical thinking and problem solving skills rather than the memorization. I'd rather have a street smart child than a book smart child. I'd rather have him or her be able to maneuver through real life scenarios, being able to think for herself or for himself, rather than someone who'd be good in tests and everything. But when it comes to real life scenarios, it's difficult for them to think quickly on the right things to do. So I guess in schools, this is what I want to focus more on. And I hope the Philippine educational system would focus on that, on thinking critically, problem solving for the kids, especially in higher grades, more than just the memorization. So it's more of, understanding and using the things that they learn in school in real life scenarios.
Yeah, we're certainly more mindful. We're giving our kids a lot more agency. And I don't even know if that's a good thing, to be honest, because when you give kids a lot of autonomy and agency, you're also setting them up to have high expectations. And then because they feel like they're special, they feel like they can do anything. But when they grow up and they realize like, hey, I'm just a normal person, I have a normal job, then sometimes that could lead to some bad consequences because their expectation was here and the reality is here. What do you think the Philippines could do better in terms of educating their children?
Philippine educational system can do better in terms of teaching the kids to develop critical thinking skills and problem solving skills, being able to give them real life scenarios on things they need in life. When they're out of school, what do they do? How do they maneuver through life? Using the concepts they learn in school, how would they use it? They'd rather think of ways to solve a problem rather than knowing on paper the answers. So being able to place those concepts in real life scenarios and still instilling the values, the integrity and everything, being able to develop the kids in that way. Because some people or some kids, they're really good in class, but when they walk around, when they cross the street, when they do things outside of school that require them to think, or they require them to do quick decision making, it's hard for them because they weren't given the same scenarios in school. So I really encourage schools to do this rather than a whole 100-point memorization. Maybe we could give them the skill to explain themselves, to give them real life scenarios, to give them essays.
Do you think there's something teachers can be doing better?
I think teachers and parents could try to work things out in partnership in terms of educating the students, being able to trust the teachers completely with how they handle the class, how they handle the students. At the same time, parents could reinforce or start the discipline at home so that it will be easier for the teachers in school. Other students start the discipline in school. So it's really challenging for the teachers to manage a class of how many, especially in the public school system here. So I guess as parents, this is what we can do. And as teachers, this is what we can do. And we actually have a lot of trainings for teachers, continuous learning for teachers. I think that would be the best program for teachers, continuous learning, lifelong learning, more strategies, more classroom strategies, behavior management. It's a different era. It's quite different with kids and very challenging with kids right now. Like when teachers try to deal with the kids are not keen on that in terms of discipline, and the parents also become a bit reactive when it comes to these things. So I guess there has to be management, there has to be, communication with parents and teachers. And teachers, of course, let's give them that respect, let's give them that authority, because our kids have to know authority, they have to know discipline. So I guess that's a challenge. Being a parent and a teacher, it's a bit challenging, in the life of a student.
Do you think kids should be allowed screen time? What's your view on screen time and technology?
It's all right for kids to get bored. Okay. Boredom breeds creativity. It flourishes through boredom. The creativity, the mind flourishes. When a child has nothing to do, has no iPad, has no tablet, he'll find things to do. And he'll find a paper, he'll find something to draw on, he'll find himself painting, doing things, a lot of inventors, a lot of people who are good in those things, they start with that. I mean, they start to get curious about these things, and without the use of an iPad or tablet. And there's a lot of studies that show that a lot of younger kids, it's not really beneficial for younger kids to be on an iPad. If there would be maybe minimum hours, but as much as possible, give the kids time to wonder and explore and try to discover things on his own, on her own, without giving them the easiest way out. As parents, we're guilty that we have to do something. We're busy, we want to eat. We just give them an iPad, we're done. You don't have to bother us. We're all guilty of that. But at the end of the day, it ruins our child. The use of an iPad actually tells a lot about the rise of this generation, the rise of social media, of gadgets. And it's a way of teaching them instant gratification. When they watch on YouTube, they actually just flip. If they want to watch another show, or they get bored with the show, they just flip it over. During our time, we had to wait for a show to get aired the next week. If it's Friday, we had to wait until Monday, or we had to wait for the commercial break to be able to continue the show. So I guess it taught us a bit of patience, but now everything's so instant, everything's so fast. And I think as much as we can control, preserve, salvage what we can for the kids to develop patience, for the kids to develop creativity, I guess we can do that. As little as giving them the space to explore, giving them all the things they need to imagine, to use their imagination, use their creativity, instead of just, giving them the easy way out. At the same time, preserving the values that we have: patience, integrity, humility, resilience. So a lot of things really start from the small things. And with those small things that we can preserve and we can salvage, maybe it will do so much more for a child that we're not aware of. So I think we can start from there.
I've heard that Filipino kids struggle with learning Filipino or Tagalog. Like they know English better than their native language. Do you see that as a problem?
That's a very good question. Here in the Philippines, it's really, really sad that a lot of Filipino parents prioritize teaching and having their kids learn the English language first or more than the Filipino language. I guess it's part of medium of instruction here, Philippine educational system. Almost all over the country, even far-flung areas, we use English medium of instruction. They say that English is also the gateway to international business, diplomacy. Everything is actually, it's a gateway to all.
But why? Is it because the goal is to leave the country or something?
Well, as I've mentioned, English is actually used as a global gateway, as a something to open the gates with for endless opportunities abroad. At the same time, doing business here, in the country, is one way to really, do business, is speaking in that language, being able to communicate and being respected in a certain way. Like if someone speaks English fluently, it's going to be good business, or you're going to be able to communicate better. I think it's more of that, not entirely getting abroad or going abroad. They think that you'd be more successful when you speak the language.
I think that's got to be the only place in the world where it's like that because, if you're in China, South Korea, you probably have to learn your language first and you would speak it at home. So, for anybody that wants to find you guys, what's the best way to contact you?
We are here at the Green Hills Mall, the newly opened mall, fifth floor. We can be contacted through Viber, Facebook, and we also have Instagram. It's easy to just message us or walk in. We can schedule you for a trial. We have free trial. You can book anytime.
Any other thing you want parents listening to know about Math Talent? For parents that want to give it a try or something like that, what does that look like? They just take their kids there? Do they stay with them for a day?
For the free trial, for the parents who want to try a class with us, we'll see how we do things, how we have our classes. You can just drop by. You can leave the kids with us. You can also wait in our waiting area. It's an hour for math, an hour for science. If you want to do both, you can have both in the same day, or we can schedule math first and then science in a different day. So there.
What kind of results are the students seeing? Is there a measurable way to gauge that?
On how we conduct classes, we introduce the concepts visually, tangible materials, learning materials, games, activities. And of course, we gauge and we assess the students with their learning. We also give worksheets. We guide them on answering the worksheets, being able to review them on the concepts, just to see if they're learning, just to check if the visual method actually works for them. At the end of every trial class, we have a feedback or reporting for the parents, for them to see how the class went, the pictures that we can show them, the activities that they did, the worksheet that they accomplished, and the things that they need to work on, like the challenges, the learning gaps that they may have encountered, things that we can help with.